Yeah.
There's this. Good evening. Banjo Patterson was a lawyer and a journalist, but he penned many well-known poems and ballads. Some of those, The Bush Christening, The Man from Ironbark, The Drover's Horse, and of course the very well-known Waltzing Matilda. He penned all those, plus many others. The most famous of all is probably The Man from Snowy River, which he penned in 1895. It's all about the horsemen in the Snowy River Mountains, and of course in those days all the stock work was done by horse and rider. So I'll give you a rendition of Banjo Patterson's poem, The Man from Snowy River. There was movement on the station, for the word had passed around that the colt from all regret had got away and joined the wild bush horses. He was worth £1,000. So all the cracks had gathered to the fray, all the tried and noted riders from the stations near and far, had mustered at the homestead overnight, for the bushmen love hard riding where the wild horses are, and the stockmen snuff the battle with delight. There was Harrison who made his pile when Pardon won the cup, and the old man with his hair as white as snow, but few could ride beside him when his blood was fairly up. He could go wherever horse or man could go. And Clancy of the Overflow came down to lend a hand. No better horseman ever held the reins, for never horse could throw him while the saddle girths would stand. He learnt to ride while droving on the plains. And one was there a stripling on a small and weedy beast. He was something like a racehorse undersized, with a touch of Timer pony, 3 parts thoroughbred at least, and such as are by mountain horsemen prized. He was hard and tough and wiry, just the sort that won't say die. There was courage in his quick and patient tread, and he bore the badge of gameness in his bright and fiery eye, and such as are by mountain horsemen prized. But the old man said, son, for a long and tiring gallop that horse will never do. Those hills are far too rough and tough for such as you. You'd better stay away. So he waited, sad and wistful. Only Clancy stood his friend. I think we ought to let him come, he said, for I'll warrant he'll be with us when he's wanted at the end, for both he and his horse are mountain bred. He hails from Snowy River up by Kosciuszko's side, where the hills are twice as steep and twice as rough, where a horse's hoofs strike firelight from the flint stones every stride, and the man that holds his own is good enough. And in those Snowy River mountains the riders make their home, where the rivers run those giant hills between. I have seen full many horsemen since I first commenced to roam, but nowhere yet such horsemen have I seen. So he went, and they found the horses by the big mimosa clump, and the old man gave his orders, boys, go at them from the jump. No use to try for fancy riding now, and Clancy, you must wheel them, try and wheel them to the right. Ride boldly, lad, and never fear the spills, for never man can hold them if once they gain the shelter of those hills. So Clancy rose to wheel them. He was racing on the wing, where the best and boldest riders take their place. And as he raced his stock horse past them, he made the rangers ring with a stock whip as he met them face to face. They halted for a moment as he swung the dreaded lash, but they saw their well-loved mountain full in view, and they charged beneath the stock whip with a sharp and sudden dash, and off into the mountain scrub they flew. Then fast the horsemen followed with the gorges deep and black, resounding to the thunder of their tread. And the stock whips woke the echoes, and they fiercely answered back from cliffs and crags that battled overhead. And upward, ever upward, the wild horses held their way. with mountain ash and Kurrajong grew wide. And the old man mutters fiercely, we might bid the mob good day, no man can hold them, down the other side. When they reached the mountain summit, even Clancy took a pull. It might well make the boldest hold their breath, for the wild hop scrub grew thickly and the hidden ground was full of wombat holes, and any slip was death. But the man from Snowy River swung his stockwhip round and gave a cheer, and he raced him down the mountain like a torrent down its bed, while the others stood and watched in very fear. He sent the flintstones flying, but the ponies kept his feet. He cleared the fallen timber in his stride, and the man from Snowy River never shifted in his seat. It was grand to see that mountain horseman ride. Through the stringy barks and saplings, on the rough and broken ground, down the hillside at a racing pace he went, and he never drew the bridle till he landed safe and sound at the bottom of that terrible descent. He was right amongst the horses as he climbed the farther hill, and the watchers on the hillside standing mute to imply the stockwhip fiercely. He was right amongst them still as he raced across a clearing in pursuit. Then they lost him for a moment where two mountain gullies met in the ranges, but a final glimpse reveals on a far and distant hillside the wild horses racing yet, with the man from Snowy River at their heels. And he ran them single-handed till their sides were white with foam. He followed like a bloodhound on their track, till they halted, cowed and beaten. And he turned their heads for home, and alone and unassisted, brought them back. But his hardy mountain pony could scarcely raise a trot. He was blood from hip to shoulder from the spur, but his pluck was still undaunted and his temper fiery hot, for never yet was mountain horse a cur. And down by Kosciuszko, where the pine-clad ridges raise their torn and rugged battlements on high, where the air is clear as crystal and the white stars fairly blaze at midnight in the cold and frosty sky, and where around the overflow the reed beds sweep and sway to the breezes and the rolling plains are wide, the man from Snowy River is a household word today, and the stockmen tell the story of his ride.